Okay, so issues analysis. First thing we want to do is come up with arguments for and against. So let's say if we start with that top one. Should the Australian government spend more money to ensure Olympic success? So give me, guys, an argument for or against. What have we got? Come on, no right or wrong.
You could argue against because they could be spending the money on like more important things.
Right. Such as what?
I'm not sure, put the money towards like, I don't know, charities or like, I don't know, helping upgrades like the hospitals and that.
Okay, now we're getting there. So where does this money come from?
Government.
Okay, so it's government money. So yeah, there is absolutely an argument that could be made for spending on hospitals. What are other things that we need to spend money on that you deem to be important? Okay, could be education. Now, spending on education. Yes, we need to spend money on education, but we're then going to have to prove education's going poorly. If we can prove education in this country is going poorly, we can then argue, hey, we should spend more money on it. So yeah, great point. What else, for and against? What have you got in your pieces of paper?
It was for like more recognition in Australia.
Okay. More recognition. Yeah, it's tourism. Every time our name is actually mentioned, hey, Australia. Australia's on the platform. Australia. Have you ever been watching the Olympics and all of a sudden Equatorial Guinea get up to receive a medal and you go, what the hell's Equatorial Guinea? Didn't even know it was a country. You ever had a moment like that? Possibly. So it can be a matter of, hey, recognition. Maybe that could act as tourism. Sure. What else, for and against, as to why we should spend more money?
For, because it only occurs once every 4 years.
Okay. Only every 4 years. So the argument then might be that you're not spending too much. But when do we start spending? Do we put the money in just in an Olympic year? When do these people start training?
2 years before.
Okay, they might start even training 2, 3, 4 years before. Who pays for all that training? So what's one of the first things we'd actually want to do with this question if we took it on? Yeah. Let's start with looking at how much. So it might be an argument for or against, depending which way it goes, compared to some other countries. Who normally finishes top of the medal table? USA. Who else is normally up there? China. Who else? We've actually, that's one thing you might want to do, is research our track history. But US and China normally finish up near the top. So what do? Research how much they spend. Now, if they spend more than us, which way is our argument going to go, for or against, in terms of our spending? Yeah, if they spend a lot more than us, we can bring it over here and make it an argument. The US spends $1 billion. We spend $3 million. Let's get more. Right? We could do the same with China. What else do we want to research?
Population.
Could be. We could look at population and bring in population per dollar spent. So it might be China is spending $1 per person. That's a lot of money for China. It might be we're only spending 20 cents per person. So you could look at things like population. You might also look at Australia's results. Look at where we have actually finished in some Olympics, because we've actually started to drop off. Sydney, we were top 5. I think we go from there. Beijing, we were top 5, I believe. Then London, 2012, we dropped off. And Rio, we're battling to hold into the top 10 at the moment. So look at how much money is spent over those years. Have we spent more? Have we spent less? What are we spending money on? Yeah, but what? Do we just give it to an athlete and goes, there's 250,000? Good on you for being an Olympic athlete.
Facilities.
Okay, so we look at what we're spending money on. Facilities, training, equipment, coaches. The other thing we could look at is Australia's success. Could be an argument against. Individual sports. Look at where have we won our medals in the previous Olympics and look at how much money gets spent on those events. What did we win a gold medal in at Rio? Some little, I think she might have even been an Adelaide girl. Won it for the biathlon where you ski, well, not ski along, but yeah, run along and then shoot things and whatever else.
Yeah.
Well, how much money do you reckon she is going to get from the Australian government? Bugger all. So if we can win gold on bugger all in that event, why can't we win gold on bugger all in the swimming? Look at how much money the swimming gets. Which event do you think in our Australian Olympics is probably going to get the most money? I would be arguing swimming. But if we're throwing all this money into swimming and it's got us 2 gold medals in the last Olympics and we've thrown no money into other events and it's got us gold medals, you've got an argument against all of a sudden. Are there any other points up there? You've done well, guys. Anything else you had on yours that you want to throw out? Doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. Or there is no such thing as wrong here. Happy? Okay. So, moving on. Does the AFLW League, for those of you that aren't sure, Women's League, encourage greater female participation or steal from established sports? What are some thoughts? What's an argument for or against?
I think it does encourage women to participate in sport.
So it does, but how or why? Okay. So we can go with more variety, more choice. What else we got?
For or against would be, didn't the chick that won the Brownlow and won the MVP and that, didn't she come from basketball? So wouldn't that be like one against, like stealing from established sports?
Okay, so what are these established sports?
Basketball. That's what I really want to know.
So basketball. What
Netball.
What?
Netball.
Yeah, for sure, netball. What are other established women's sports? Are they the main ones we think? I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just asking.
Tennis.
Possibly. Now, how do we prove that they've in fact been stolen from these sports? We need evidence. So, what evidence are we going to use? So, okay, we could have individual examples. So it was Aaron Phillips. So Erin Phillips was the women's Brownlow medalist, come from the WNBA. I believe she's actually gone back to the WNBA. I want to say Phoenix Mercury. And I think she's actually retired from the WNBA so that she can come back and focus on her footy. So that's one example that we could use. What else could we show or do or find evidence for to show that we are in fact stealing from these sports?
They're going to get paid more.
We could look at wages, possibly. There's a big one there that we can actually look at.
I don't know if this is wrong, but this year the Thunderbirds really sucked, but the AFL, the Adelaide team was really good and they won or something.
So we could look at, hey, different competitions within that state. You're not far off in terms of the point. Participation rates would be a big one. What are the participation rates? What do I mean by that? What do I mean by participation rates? How many people are actually participating in these sports? Look at numbers of women involved in basketball. Look at numbers in terms of women involved in netball. And you might look at that over a 3-year period. In 2014, this many women were playing netball. In 2015, in 2016. Then look at it in 2017. Are the numbers dropping off as a result of, hey, this? So we could look at participation rates and see if numbers are dropping. That could certainly be an argument. Right. Are there any other points for or against that we've got for?
Might only enjoy football, like, and not like any other sport. You know, they've got women football they can play.
So they might not be playing any other sports. These women might be sitting on their asses doing nothing. On the flip side, we're looking at participation rates of these. Look at the participation rates of women in AFL. If the number of women registered playing AFL has not changed over the last 2 or 3 years, does that mean they're stealing from them? No. It means the numbers are completely the same. So we need to prove that in fact the numbers here have gone up. So we might have to do that through looking at these other ones. Let's look at the established numbers and see where the established sports and see whether or not the numbers there do in fact go down. Anything else we want to add? All right, we'll go down. Let's have a look at, should junior sport be grouped on height and size rather than age? Who's got an argument for or against either way?
Against people who are older will have more understanding of the game.
Ooh, I like it. I've got to remember this needs to be seen, don't I? So, those that are older, been playing the game for longer, are going to have a greater understanding of the game. Yeah, that'll give them an advantage. Yeah, for sure. What else have we got?
Or there's no physical disadvantages.
No physical disadvantages? For sure. So there is no physical disadvantages. Valid point. Any others?
Skills might not be like developed as well as the older player. So with the height and size.
So it's similar to that first point, but now we're looking at the skills. So we're saying, if I'm a under 7, well, I'm a 7-year-old playing against an 11-year-old, that 11-year-old's had 4 more years to develop their skills. They've had 4 more years to develop their tactics and understanding of the game. Yeah, valid point. What else have we got? Any others? Well, why would we do this? What's your gut feel in terms of why would anyone do that? That's stupid. Why would they do it? What? Alright. So it could be an argument. Fairness.
Okay, maybe.
Oh,
Make it more even, I suppose.
equality. What's fairness and equality going to do? It might increase participation. It might increase participation. What's the other thing it's going to do by having no physical disadvantage? What do parents want from all their kids playing sport? They want 2 things.
One, be safe.
Okay. One is they want them to have an equal opportunity, and the other one is they want them to be safe. So it might be safer, less injuries. So now we've suddenly got, hey, no physical disadvantages, which might actually mean safer, less injuries. It's going to be more fair. Right? That might encourage greater participation. So what are we doing in terms of research? What sort of sports do you think might bring in this rule?
Basketball.
Why do you say that?
Just if someone's like a lot taller than someone that's like that tall.
Contact sports.
Okay, both are good points. Basketball for sure. You've suddenly got a midget going up against a tall person. Right? Makes it very, very hard. So it might be a sport like contact sports for sure. Look at something like rugby. I'm sure you've seen those YouTube clips or those Play of the Day clips where you get that little kid who's 150 kilos just running through every one of the little kids at 30 kilos. So, research what are some sports that might have actually done this. So it might be something like a rugby or an AFL. And then what do we also want to research? Are there less injuries? See if there are less injuries. See if it does increase participation. These are the things we need to find out. So we've got over on the other side, older, more experienced, they've got better skills. What do you think this might do if we actually brought it in? On a negative sense. Good thing, bad thing? Why might it be a bad thing?
Intimidation. I don't know. Going up to someone that's like 4 or 5 years older than you.
Could be. So there could be intimidation or harassment issues, perhaps. So you could look at, is there any intimidation or harassment issues that might be going on? For sure.
It might be like, I don't know, netball for instance, like someone who's tall and big wouldn't be able to play like a centre or something because their bodies are different, so their sport won't necessarily work.
Okay. That's a valid point. So netball centres, excuse the stereotypes, are generally little short asses. I can say that. I live with one. Right? Then the tall ones are playing our goals. So if you're making someone who's 6 foot play centre and they're not designed for it, what are they going to do? They might lose interest. So we've argued that it might actually increase participation, but then we could argue the opposite. How are we going to know which way that argument goes? Research. And that's the big thing. That research. The more research you put in, fair chance the better grade you are actually going to get. Right? So, we've got a lot of good dot points there. And this is what we do with an issues analysis. We brainstorm ideas. We've done it as a collective group here, that's okay, no worries. We then pick one of those that we want to focus on. So, Lockie, which one do you think instinctively you're going to look at?
Probably the first one, because there's a lot for and a lot against, so you could probably argue effectively for it.
Okay. Coco?
Should junior sport be grouped on highlights?
Bailey, which one do you think you might look at?
I don't know.
Which one?
Yeah,
Are you,
Annabelle.
which one are you tossing up between? Annabelle. Probably the first one. Evie. Evie. Jaden. Bailey.
Probably the last one.
Okay. So, chances are this middle one's not getting much airtime. That's okay. I'll leave it just in case one of these guys and girls does pick it. So, are we happy with that? Yep. I'm now going to move into the next step that may or may not help you. Chances are you may or may not have seen it. I'm going to guess you probably have. So I'll stop this one there.